Welcome back to Morning Coffee right here on the Radio Vision Network. Thank you for joining us. And on the Skype line right now, I have the host of the MVP show every Saturday right here on Radio Vision Network. He is Neil Villapiano. Good morning, Neil, and welcome back to Morning Coffee.
Good morning, Mark. How are you?
I'm doing well. What's going on in the world of Neil today?
I just got up. There's a lot of sports action on last night. I was definitely intrigued by some of the things that were going on.
Yeah, now I know that there was a big NFL game, and it was weird because the NFL decided to put the best game of the week on Thursday. This schedule on Sunday looks horrible, but last night the Cowboys traveled to Minnesota to try to beat the Vikings, and the Vikings have a chance to really stir things up in the NFC. And Neil, the Cowboys come out victorious again.
Yeah, and I mean it was a really close game, and definitely the Vikings. It just looked like their offense has continued to get worse and worse and worse. I feel that since their game against the Eagles back in Week 6, they have done nothing but continue to struggle and struggle and struggle. And last night was no different. I mean, they finally were able to get in the end zone on their last drive of the game. But, their kicker, Connor Barth, he really had to save them last night.
Yeah, well, and this is after they cut one of their other kickers earlier in the year, right? This kid was the guy that was supposed to come in and fix their kicking situation. But it just goes to show that once Minnesota lost Adrian Peterson, that it doesn't matter how good Sam Bradford was going to play. The Vikings were a fraud from the get-go because they were not as good of a team as they appeared to be early in the season.
Yeah, I mean, I never really believed that the Vikings were as good as people were saying. Even when I saw them play the Giants early on in the year, I still was not convinced that the Vikings were that good of a team. A lot of people were saying, "Oh, the Vikings look like they're going to be able to run the NFC." But like I said, once they lost to Philadelphia, not only lost, got blown out. They really have just not had anything going for them. I mean, their offensive coordinator North Turner resigned after I believe Week 9. And they were still in first place in their division. They were still pretty good. And they just, ever since then, they just continued to struggle even more.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird thing out there in Minnesota. But you mentioned the Giants. The Giants just keep winning, Neil. This is kind of crazy that the NFC East, you've got the Cowboys at the top. But the Giants and the Redskins, they keep winning. What's going to happen here in the NFC East?
Well, I think the biggest thing for the Redskins has to be their offense. Kirk Cousins has had one of his better seasons so far in his short career. I think he's developed a lot more. I think now that he doesn't have the pressure of having any quarterback behind him trying to take his job, and he doesn't have the pressure of a guy like RG3, who was that number 2 overall pick, with all the hype and everything. I think he could just go out there and relax. And he has some good players with Deshaun Jackson, Andre Reed, and they have a few other guys that just have really helped him develop as a quarterback.
Andre, wait.
About their defense, I think that in some games, especially these last two against the Browns and Bears, their offense has had some points where they just really can't move the ball, but their defense has come away with big plays. I mean, last week against the Browns, Jason Pierre-Paul, the defensive end, picked off a pass by Josh McCown of the Browns and scored a touchdown. So it's just about, for the Redskins, it's about their offense, and the Giants, it's definitely about their defense.
Yeah, and it's Jordan Reed. Andre Reed was a wide receiver for the Buffalo Bills when they were going to Super Bowls back in the 90s. But that's okay. That's okay, Neil. I'm here to help. That's why I'm here.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I actually thought that the Browns were in a good spot to beat the Giants last week, but then we realized that the Browns stink, and that wasn't going to happen.
Well, I mean, I said on my show on last Saturday that I didn't think the Giants were going to win this game. I really had very little confidence. They struggled mightily against a 2-win Bears team. So I thought, what are the chances that they would do any better against a winless team? And they struggled. I mean, they did finally were able to get some touchdowns, but they should have been able to blow out that team if the Browns were as bad as people said they were. But I don't think any team in the NFL is pathetic because, I mean, I understand that the Browns are winless, but they still have some good players. It's just a lot of bad luck. They've been in a lot of their games, and I think they do have a shot at winning at least 1 or 2 games and not finishing winless.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens. I don't know. They're running out of time, Neil, and they don't look very
Yeah.
good. But I do believe that any given Sunday scenario. So we're gonna breeze right by the Eagles, and we're gonna talk a little college because we've got college championship week, and we've got a lot of big games, especially a couple Philly schools. We got Penn State. Well, Penn State's not a Philly school, but you know what I mean. We got
Oh, yeah.
Penn State, and Temple getting ready to go for their championships.
Yeah, I mean, Penn State, obviously, they had to. They've been through a lot this year. Early on in the season, they lost a heartbreaker to Pitt, and then they also got blown out by Michigan. Those are only two losses. But then ever since they beat Ohio State, they upset them at home. They were right there in the top 10. And now they got a chance, and I think, in my opinion, is that if they could get it done, if they can win the Big Ten championship game, I think they have a very big chance of making the Final Four. I think that, obviously, the Big Ten is going to get two teams into the Final Four, and I think Penn State has a really good chance of being one of those two teams. And for Temple, obviously they're once again in the American Athletic Championship game against Navy, and it's going to be, it's going to be a good game because Navy for the last couple of years has been very, very good, considering the fact that that is a military school. And Temple is coming back after last season getting blown out by Houston in the inaugural American Conference Championship game. And I think they're going to come out. I think Temple's going to come out. And I think they have a good shot of winning this game.
What do you think about the SEC championship? Does Florida have a chance of winning that game?
I don't think Florida has a really good chance of winning that game because of this reason. Obviously, you've seen Alabama have many games this year where they have struggled mightily in the first half, and they've been losing. And you think, well, maybe this is the week that Alabama finally loses, and then especially once you get to the fourth quarter, they just turn it on. But if Florida can somehow keep Alabama struggling, even throughout the fourth quarter, they have a very good chance then of winning this game.
Yeah, they've got to mess it up. It's going to have to be a messy game for Florida to win it. But they've won a few of those messy games this year, like stopping dude on the 1 yard line to end the game a couple weeks ago. That was crazy.
Yeah, I had a chance to see that game. LSU had the ball at the Florida 1 yard line. They're at home. They're looking to go for the score to take the lead and win the game. And Florida made a great defensive stop, and I was very impressed by that. And that's what I was saying before about what Florida needs to do. I think Florida's going to rely mostly on their defense and they try to be able to stop the Alabama offense. And like I said, if they just keep them struggling throughout the fourth quarter, then they have a really good shot.
Yeah, definitely. All right, and I'm going to switch gears on you real quick because I don't know why, but I kept seeing all this news about Major League Baseball yesterday. Hello, it's December. The World Series ended 2 months ago, and nobody's really thinking or worrying about baseball, but they did something with their collective bargaining agreement. What happened, Neil?
Yeah, well, the Major League Baseball and the Players Association signed a new collective bargaining agreement. It was a little bit nerve-wracking a couple days ago because yesterday, if they did not get a deal done by yesterday, that there would be actually a strike. So I think a lot of people definitely caught their attention, but thank goodness that there was a collective bargaining agreement signed. And the two most interesting things that I found in the collective bargaining agreement that I saw was, number one, whoever wins the AllStar Game now, that doesn't mean that they get home field. They automatically get home field advantage to start the World Series. So that no longer applies in the AllStar Game, which now kind of makes the AllStar Game something that's not really worth playing for.
It doesn't
I actually
count.
Agree with it.
Well, it's funny because it never counted before, and then they started this whole thing. Well, this one counts. This one counts. Well, they went back to how it should be, and that's the best record gets home field in the World Series. So sorry, All-Star Game, you don't count, but we're still going to watch because that's what it is. It's the All-Star Game.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing that I noticed, and I might be getting the details a little bit wrong, but I believe that Major League Baseball has banned chewing tobacco for Major League players. And I mean,
what?
I'm not. Yeah, I mean that's one of the rules that was implied into the new CBA. I mean, I don't really know why this is such a big deal, but I think because of the fact that some of the effects that it can have later on make it a problem. But I don't really know exactly what they're trying to do here.
Yeah, I'm trying to find some. Wow. Yeah, they have banned smokeless tobacco on future major leaguers. So, I guess if you're already in the league, you can still do it. But if you're a new guy coming up, This is gonna be impossible to enforce. There's no way that this is gonna be able to stick around.
Yeah, and I mean, this is something that how are you going to be able to detect it all the time? I mean, there's so many games, there's so many players. How are you supposed to detect this type of stuff? But we'll have to wait and see how it all goes down.
Yeah, it's really interesting, Neil, and I know that I'm going to be able to find a lot more about it on Saturday at 10 a.m. right here on the Radio Vision Network when I tune in for the MVP show. What do you got coming up this week, Neil?
This week, it should be very interesting. Like I said, college football, I'm going to be doing my conference championship previews. I'm going to talk a little bit about the college football playoff and what I see is going to happen. Obviously, I'm going to talk a little bit more about Major League Baseball's new CBA, talk about the NFL games that are coming up this week. And one thing that I actually didn't mention here that should be interesting to talk about is the NHL and the NHL Players Association looks like they're struggling to agree on a new CBA, and that could possibly ruin the chances of the NHL players going to the Olympics in 2018.
Oh my gosh! Well, we'll have to wait and see what happens there. What will happen if we don't get hockey players in the Olympics in 2018? Neil, this is crazy. We're gonna have to tune in tomorrow and find out what's going on there.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining me. We will check you out tomorrow at 10 o'clock right here on the Radio Vision Network.
No problem, Mark. Thanks for having me as always.
You're quite welcome. So make sure you do that, folks. Make sure you watch Neil tomorrow, 10 o'clock, right here on Radio Vision Network. I'm going to take a quick break. You're going to stay right there, and I'm going to